All right, what's going on? 3 o'clock, Chad here. Warner Brothers Discovery, the home of TNT, informed the NBA Monday that it will match the $1.8 billion per year offer by Amazon Prime Video, meaning TNT would likely carry games on Thursday night and other nights streaming on Max. The Trailblazers finish up their summer league schedule at 3-2. Donovan Clingan was awesome. Finished with the most blocks per game in summer league history at 4.2. We're going to talk with Sean Highkin of the Rose Garden Report at 3:20 for a summer league recap. Elsewhere, Spencer Dinwiddie and the Mavs agreed on a one-year deal. On the diamond, Mariners start the day tied with the Astros in the West after dropping 2 of 3 over the weekend. They're going to open up a set against the Angels tonight. First pitch at 6:40 from T-Mobile Park. Bryce Miller on the bump for Seattle. Justin Myers, host of Rip City Mornings, will be broadcasting live from Lucas Oil Stadium Thursday for Big Ten Media Day. It's presented by Dick Hanna. Don't miss the coverage starting at 6. Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad starts now. All right, what's going on, my friends? Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. Coming up on the show today, in 20 minutes, we're going to talk with Sean Highkin of the Rose Garden Report for a little Summer League recap after a successful trip to Vegas for your Portland Trailblazers. And then at 5:20, Dwight and I, our good friend PGA David Coleman, to recap the messy, very messy Open Championship at Royal Troon and Godfather. I have determined that I would not want to play Royal Troon in those type of conditions. I would go on the course, I would play my round, and right up on finishing the round, I would walk off the course and never play golf again. That was hideous. Wild to watch those guys who are so skilled and so good at what they do struggle all over the course.
Yeah, I made up my mind. I don't think I'd go there and even watch a tournament there, let alone play that course. It was miserable. We're right in the middle of summer, and it was awful weather. And I get the impression it's that way every day there.
Well, we're going to talk with PGA Dave at 5:20. By the way, you and I have something in common. You had a golf lesson on Saturday.
I did.
I had a golf lesson on Saturday. I went out to see my good buddy Nick Warren at Golf Tech, who is the man. And your lesson, it sounded like, based on what you're telling me on the phone, it paid some dividends, my friend.
Yeah, I see Scott Rath. He's a pro at our club and one of the best teaching pros around. And he proved it Saturday with a lesson he gave me because and he's so good at like spotting little things. That's what they do, you know. They look at you and they spot something. And he with me needed 2 or 3 things, not just one thing. But he basically calmed me down and got rid of a lot of excess motion and even excess thoughts in my mind, and gave me just a couple of things to think about. And I went out Sunday in the midst of the thunderstorm and everything else. We snuck in 9 holes, and for 9 holes, everything he taught me just seemed to work to perfection. Basically, I posted a 44 over 9 holes, which is the best I've ever done.
Very nice, Godfather.
Yeah, I would look. I'm not a golfer of your class at all, but you've seen how bad I am. And for me to shoot a 44 over 9 holes, I'll take it. If I could get into the 80s over 18 holes, that would be a miracle.
Oh, I love hearing that. I'm a big fan of golf instruction, of finding a coach, working with the coach, and then being able to implement those, techniques and practices. And I've been doing it now for years. So to hear you do that and have that type of success, it warms my heart. I was out in the thunder and rain on Sunday as well.
How did your lesson turn out?
It was great. I walked in. I said, "This is happening." And he's like, "Oh, your elbow needs to point at the target." I did that, started striping it again. He's like, "What else did you want to talk about?" And then we worked on a couple other little details, things that had come up. And then we ended up playing a 18-hole virtual round at a course inside. So it was pretty nice to have the lesson. And then he and I played a round of 18 virtually, which was really fun. So it turned out to be terrific. I played in the tournament. It was a best ball 2-man team tournament yesterday, and we were out there on the course right in the middle of the thunder and lightning. And there's something a little unsettling about hearing thunder that sounded like the voice of God raining down on top of you, seeing flashes of lightning, and holding a metal rod right in your hand. So all of a sudden, we're like, what should we do? We heard the horn. Someone had one of those blowhorns that goes really loud, and we knew that we had to shut it down. So we stayed in our carts. We figured that was pretty safe with the rubber wheels under tree cover until the storm passed, and then we resumed play.
And you haven't seen the Trevino documentary yet, right?
No, I have not.
Oh, good, because if you had seen that and saw what being hit by lightning,
Run for your life!
it ruined his career, basically. He was never the same golfer after being struck by lightning. So, yeah, it's a good thing you haven't seen that.
Well, that's great. So that's good. It was a very nice weekend. I'm loving this weather. It's fabulous, and it's just a great time of the year, and I'm trying to soak it up and enjoy it before it ends because I know before you know it, the good weather's going to be gone, and we'll get more rain coming in here in a few months.
But how about your round this morning, Chad?
God.
How did that go?
Okay. I don't want to talk about it, but I just got to get this off my chest, all right?
Yeah.
I was cruising past the halfway point, and I'm like, I'm going to shoot subpar today. And then all of a sudden, I hit the par 5. Good drive, good second shot. Flubbed my chip shot into the bunker. Blasted the bunker shot over the green. Bad chip shot onto the green, 2 putts, triple bogey. I followed that up with a double bogey and followed that up with a bogey before I finished out the round with a par birdie. So I blew up my round in 3 holes. I was +6 over the course of 3 holes. Very annoying. And that's the time where I just want to take a club and just ram it through my eye. It's like, how can you be cruising so well and then all of a sudden put on your dumb cap and forget the basics, you moron? Oh, my gosh. It's just going to drive me crazy, Godfather. The game is going to drive me crazy. 1 minute, so good, and the next minute, it's like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And then the self-conversation starts, and it's usually not very positive. It's like, hey, dum-dum, you've been working on this all day, and then you get up here and you do that? It's like, what were you thinking? I hate that kind of talk, but it drives me crazy because I'm striving for subpar activity. That's what I'm striving for.
Yeah, but you're a perfectionist. Golf's a bad game for a perfectionist because it's impossible to reach.
I know. Okay.
But it's good for you in the same sense because it probably allows you at some point to accept less than perfection, right?
Yeah, sort of. Something like that. I love it, too, because the old guys I
something
play with, they don't give a bleep, right? They just laugh at me. They laugh at me. They enjoy it. So there you go. So,
But they're not as good as you, I'm betting, but they're probably more consistent than you.
No, they're not as good or as consistent.
Oh, really?
But they're good. They're good. You know, like the old guys, they're just not as long. But, you know, they keep it straight. But, yeah, it's whatever. I love the game, and I hate the game. I love it, and I hate it. It's just going to drive me mad. What can you do? What can you do, man? You get out there on the course, everything's good, and all of a sudden you get ramrodded like that.
Yeah, and then the problem is, what did I do wrong? Let me try this. Let me try that. When you probably just hit a bad shot, don't change anything.
No, you just hit a bad shot. It is what it is.
Yeah.
All right, we got to talk about this. This came in while I was on my way to the station today. This is a, I guess, kind of a little statement put out from TNT Sports. It says, quote, "We're proud of how we have delivered for basketball fans by providing best-in-class coverage throughout our 4-decade partnership with the NBA in an effort to continue our long-standing partnership during both exclusive and non-exclusive negotiation periods. We acted in good faith to present strong bids that were fair to both parties. Regrettably, the league notified us of its intention to accept the offers for the games in our current rights package, leaving us to proceed under the matching rights provision, which is an integral part of our current agreement and the rights we have paid for under it. We have reviewed the offers and matched one of them. This will allow fans to keep enjoying our unparalleled coverage, including the best live game productions in the industry and our iconic studio shows and talent, while building on our proven 40-year commitment for many more years. Our matching paperwork was submitted to the league today. We look forward to the NBA executing our new contract." That's kind of a weird statement that you put out. They put it out there saying, we've matched. Now we just hope the NBA is on board with this whole plan.
Yeah.
Andrew Brandt has put out many tweets involving TNT's decision here, and it sounds like They're matching the Amazon package, which was $1.8 billion per year. We also know from Brandt that they secured a loan from Bank of America for $20 billion, which is wild. And that would coincide with the fact that apparently, according to Brandt, there was some type of poison pill that Amazon may have negotiated into their deal with the NBA, making it hard for someone to match.
Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be interesting because it's probably going to land in a courtroom somewhere. And I don't know that the league wants to go that route. I don't know if Amazon's got the money. They can go ahead and do that. They're not worried. It's going to be hard because I can't see, and I don't think you can either, Chad. I don't see where TNT can really match what Amazon could bring to the table for them. It's just they're not in a position to present something that's equal, are they?
No, I don't think so. Burkhart, who is with us today, pulled up these numbers here. And look, I think the NBA, they would never say it. I don't think they wanted TNT in. I think they got the partners they wanted, including Amazon, because they're looking to really ramp up the streaming where so many people, especially the younger demo, is heading to. They're streaming everything. And Amazon's one of the best in the biz. According to the numbers Burkhart got up, Max, which would be the streaming platform for TNT, they have a reach of 100 million, while Amazon is double that at 200 million. And I love what's Brandt saying in regards to this type of situation.
What he always says, there will be lawyers.
Yes. So my guess here, TNT decided to match. My guess is the NBA didn't want them to match, and therefore this is going to get messy and probably go into the courts.
Yeah, and Chad, the other thing, and talk about being unable to match, they're talking at Amazon about putting NBA games on right after their telecasts of NFL football games. And anybody in the business of television knows your lead-in is extremely important to what kind of audience you'll get for your show. And I think if you are led into a basketball game by the NFL, your numbers are naturally going to be higher.
The way I read that is that they will carry Thursday night games when their NFL coverage is done. Meaning after the season is over, then the NBA will
I thought they
resume
said
on Thursday.
After the game is over.
Yeah, no, not after the game's over, because that would be 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night on the West Coast. It would be super late in the East, so it wouldn't make sense to do that. But after their NFL package is over, then they go right into streaming.
Well, that
Thursday
would
night
be a
games.
help too, though, because that time slot is going to be a kind of an appointment viewing for sports fans.
Yeah. Now, this is not a popular take, but I got to be honest with you. I want the NBA to go to Amazon as well.
Do you?
Yeah.
How come?
Because I want access to the streaming. And the Amazon platform, as proven last year with the NFL, it was really good, no glitches, and it's very easy to pull up on computer, on phone. I can be on the go and be able to watch NBA games. So I kind of like the platform, and I think that's a smart move by the NBA to head in that type of direction. The only thing that TNT was providing that was really must-see TV, it wasn't the games as much as it was their studio work with the guys inside the NBA. So we're going to lose that, but I don't know how this is going to play out, Godfather, but I think it's weird. The statement's kind of weird the way TNT wrote that. And my guess is the NBA, the Board of Governors agreed to the new rights deal. They like their partners in Disney, NBC, and Amazon. They probably want to keep it that way. So you were saying there could be a compromise, meaning like a fourth package for TNT, where Amazon gets to keep what they've agreed to. They work out some deal for TNT to have some NBA games.
I would say a minimal package probably, too. Just like a one game a week. People were talking about throwing Monday night games on or something like that, giving them something to get them out of court and to keep this thing from getting too crazy. I mean, we're still a year away from these things taking effect. It's not this coming season. It's the season after that. So there would be time to go to court, but not a lot of time because you know how long those things take.
I think the more important question about this entire situation is how on earth do you call up Bank of America and say, I need a loan? $20 billion, please.
Yeah, with a B.
That's crazy money.
Big time crazy.
$20 billion.
Yeah.
And I think Brandt also said the fact that they've secured that Bank of America a line of credit for $20 billion would lead you to believe they're probably serious about what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll keep an eye on that. Coming up next, Summer League recap. Sean Highkin of the Rose Garden Report. We'll ask him about his thoughts on Donovan Clingan. Also, what non-Blazer jumped out the most in Vegas? That's up next on the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. I love the game and I hate the game. I love it and I hate it. It's just going to drive me mad. All right, Rip City Drive. Our next guest is back from Vegas. He was down there for an extended period of time in the heat covering the Summer League. He is on X at Highkin. You can check out his site, rosegardenreport.com, and he's back. It's Sean Highkin here on the Rip City Drive. Sean, welcome back to Portland. It's great to have you back. I guess we'll start with this. Just your overall reaction and thoughts as to what you saw from Donovan Clingan, the Blazers' top pick in the draft, and his play at Summer League.
I think fans should be very excited about what they saw. I mean, offensively, it was a little bit rough, and that's just kind of a product of the transition from college to the summer league level, which is never really friendly to big men. Like that's just kind of what that is. But defensively, I think you saw exactly what the Blazers saw when they drafted him in the top 10 and why he was, as far as I can tell, number 1 or 2 on their draft board before the draft. Like this could be, I think all the stuff you hear about, like he was the best rim protector in the draft or he's one of the best defensive prospects that's come out in a while, like all that stuff was on display. And I think for from that end of the floor, at the very least, like I think people should be very excited about what they saw.
Sean, I kind of was disappointed in that they didn't get a seasoned sort of veteran, even journeyman point guard down there with him to help him get the ball. I thought it was difficult for him offensively because he didn't have a lot of people who were getting him the ball in the spots he needed. You agree with that at all?
I do agree with that, and that's also why I say not really to pay too much attention to what he looked like on offense at Summer League, because that's just kind of always the case for big men. But I will say that's also one of the reasons I wish that they had maybe been willing to let Scoot Henderson play a couple of games down there, just to have somebody like that that's capable of getting him the ball for Donovan to play with. Not even so much to do with anything with Scoot, but just to have Donovan out there with, maybe all due respect to Kendrick Davis and Kennedy Chandler, maybe more of an NBA caliber point guard out there to play with Donovan. I think that would have been good for him. I agree.
Hey, Sean, in terms of how the team viewed Summer League, did Donovan Clingan surprise the front office? Was it what they expected in terms of his overall performance? And he led the Summer League now most blocks per game in history.
He's at an all-time record for Summer League. That's vaunted territory right there. No, I think they saw pretty much what they expected to see out of him. I think the rim protection and even to an extent the playmaking. In one of those games, he had 5 assists. Like I think all that kind of stuff, the stuff that it's important for him to be good at in Summer League, he was good at in Summer League. So I think it was pretty much. It was pretty much what they expected, and I think that's mostly a positive thing.
You mentioned the playmaking and the 5 assists that he had. I think in game number 2, you wrote about this. I think it was I want to say it was Ryan Rupert or maybe it was Minaya, but they were impressed with his playmaking and vision and being able to find them on cuts, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was Justin Minaya, and that's something I think we saw a little bit at UConn, but it's something that not just Minaya, but multiple people that I've talked to have been with Donovan in practice since the ramp up to Summer League started. It was all kind of like we knew what he was defensively, but we didn't realize how good of a passer he is for a big man. And so I think if that's something that they think is going to translate, then that's something that I think is just another way that he's going to be able to make an impact in the NBA right away as a rookie.
Sean, what did you think of Murray and Rupert down there?
Rupert, I think, was pretty encouraging. He had a pretty rough first half of the first game. I think he had 6 turnovers in the first half. But since then, if you throw out the first half of the first game, he was pretty good, honestly. Like he looked like he was more comfortable finishing. Some of the passing stuff they've been trying over the last year, and this is a lot of what he was doing with the remix when he spent a lot of time in the G League. They've been trying. They kind of see him as like the new Nicolas Batum, and not just because they're both French. I think they kind of see him as kind of that bigger point forward type, and he was able to do a little bit of that stuff in at Summer League. Murray, I think the real swing for him, and we're going to kind of see this as his second season progresses, he's good at a lot of things that help you stay on the floor, but the thing that's really going to be the swing of whether he's a helpful rotation player or not is whether the shot comes around. He's somebody who, he profiles as he should be a good shooter, but he hasn't been able to show that for a consistent period of time, and he struggled with that again at Summer League. So if the shot comes around for Murray, I think that's going to be the swing.
We're talking with Sean Highkin, Rose Garden Report here on the Rip City Drive. You can find him on X at Highkin. Aside from Trailblazers, who was the best non-Blazer you saw at Summer League?
Reed Shepherd. I think that that was just a case of just exactly what he did at Kentucky, and translating exactly to the NBA, and just the scoring, and just he also showed some good playmaking stuff, and he can stay with guys defensively. Reed Shepherd was really good. I don't bet on stuff, but if I were betting on who's going to win Rookie of the Year, that would probably be my pick as of right now.
We totally agree on that, Sean. I saw him a couple of times and made an appointment to see him the second time just to kind of get another look at him. He looks polished enough to just step right in and play, didn't you think?
Reed, that's I think a big part of why that was such an appealing pick for a team like Houston, who is not really in the same rebuilding phase that Portland is in. They're interested, they're trying to compete for the play-in or the playoffs, and so a plug-and-play guy like that who can score and can kind of give them a little injection of that, with all the veterans that they have, as well as some of the young guys that they've got. But that I think that's a guy that I think came away really. He was really impressive at Summer League.
Hey, Sean, one story you've been all over has been the WNBA to Portland. What is the latest you're hearing on expansion in regards to Portland getting a team?
Well, Kathy Engelbert said yesterday, or not yesterday, a couple days ago, at her press conference at the All-Star Game, that expansion is coming. There's going to be more expansion news about, new teams being added her words were, in the coming months. And as of right now, she has said many times that her goal is to expand from 12 teams, which is what the league currently has, to 16 by 2028. And so they're already going to add the Golden State team that's starting up next year, and then the Toronto team that's starting up the year after that. So they would then have to add 2 more teams to get up to 16. And I have continued to hear that Portland, despite it falling through last year, is very strongly still in the mix. There's a couple of new ownership groups that are interested now. The Blazers are totally on board. Blazers aren't going to be part of the ownership group, but they're totally on board as far as helping out with, the arena and other kind of back end support and that type of stuff. Nothing is done until it's done, and I would caution people of that, especially because a year ago it was supposed to get announced, to the point where there was literally a date for a press conference, and then it fell apart at the last minute because of an issue with the ownership group. But I would still be surprised if it doesn't ultimately happen.
Sean, I know you were down there in Las Vegas in time to see a little bit of the Olympic men's team. They've struggled in a couple of games, and I'm wondering, I know you've been involved in Summer League. I would bet you've had a chance to get a look at some of their games. How do you feel about them going into the Olympics? Are you concerned that they might not get that gold, or are you pretty confident that they will?
I would still default to thinking they're probably going to end up winning gold because they're just so much more talented than everybody else, and that usually just kind of wins out in this setting. But it's not going to be like what some of these other Olympics where they just come in and beat everybody by 70. You're looking at when you look at the roster and you look at how they play, like the Durant injury stuff is kind of concerning. If he's able to go, that's going to be a big question mark. Embiid has just not looked comfortable at all in this format and this setting and this style of play, and the foul baiting stuff that he does a lot in the NBA just doesn't really, fly in, with FIBA refs, and he just kind of looks slow out there. So there are definitely concerns, but just in the grand scheme of things, I would still, if you asked me to take USA or the field to win the gold medal, I'm still taking US.
All right, Sean, you got some downtime now. You got any plans to go catch a summer concert series, or what's next for you?
I don't really have a whole lot going on, and this is the first time in a while that's been the case. So it's going to be an interesting next. I'm really interested to get to training camp in a couple of months.
All right. You got anything else, Godfather?
Yeah, I just want to add, I mean, it's also trade season to a degree, and Sean, I think you're kind of it's hard to take a vacation. I remember my years on the beat where every time you left town, you're worried that something's going to happen while you're gone because they could do something at any time. Do you see anything coming? And if so, what do you think the first shoe to drop would be?
Well, it's not going to be anything close to. I mean, last summer was the worst because the Dame thing dragged out all summer, and it could have happened at any moment. So you really couldn't, unplug or go off the grid or anything. And it didn't happen until a week before training camp or whenever the trade actually ended up happening. I don't think there's really anything imminent right now, though. That's not to say that they couldn't do something with Jeremy Grant or Anthony Simons or Robert Williams or maybe Matisse Thybulle before the start of training camp. But the one guy that I think they had to move before next season was Malcolm Brogdon, and they did that already in trading for Denny Avdia on draft night. So the rest of those guys, I think they'll trade any of those guys if they get an offer that they like, but I don't think they're actively looking to move those guys just to move them. So I think the most urgent stuff has kind of already been done.
All right, check out the site, rosegardenreport.com. He's on X at Highkin. Sean Highkin is here on the Rip City Drive. Sean, as always, we appreciate the time. Talk soon, and enjoy the weather, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
There you go. Boy, he didn't waste any time saying Reed Shepherd when we asked him about non-Blazers Godfather.
Hey, Chad, I was thinking about who does he remind me of, and then I saw online somebody compared him to a guy that maybe a lot of people don't remember, Mark Price. You remember Mark Price at Cleveland? Oh, yeah. Really, really good, solid player. Boy, when they had him and Terrell Brandon at the same time, they really had a couple of nice-looking guards. The kid, Shepherd, can shoot the ball, really nice-looking shooter, very pure, handles fine, but the separation with him from other guys, including Price, I think, is he's a dogged defender. He gets after people pretty good, and he looks like kind of a tough kid. We mentioned, I think, earlier, his father was a big-time player, actually played in the NBA a little while, but he was a Kentucky player also, and I like him a lot. He is the only guy I saw there, and I watched a lot of the Summer League. I can't disconnect from it after so many years of going. He's probably the only guy I saw that was NBA ready. The rest of them, yeah, they'll play, but they're not ready.
I'm a big fan of the Price family. Mark Price, who was at Cleveland, great guard in the NBA. His brother Brent Price, who was a star at the University of Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. And there was a Sunday where Brent and Mark and their family showed up at my Nana's church in Ponca City, Oklahoma.
No, really?
Yeah, and they sang. They actually performed and sang at the church, and my Nana got autographs for Brent and Mark, and then she gave it to me, and she was pretty excited. And she told me how much of a gentleman they were and how nice they were to her. And so I've always had this saying that if you're good to Grandma or my Nana, then I'm good with you. So Brent Price I was a big fan of. Mark Price, I always appreciated for the way he played, and then they took care of my Nana, so I was happy about that. The other guy that I'm a big fan of now that I wasn't before, but he was nice to my Nana, was Garth Brooks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He had a chance to – she met him, and then they went over to his house in Owasso, Oklahoma, and they watched one of his concerts, and they got to hang out. And my Nana told me that he was very nice to her. So I'm like, okay, I'm down with Garth now.
I felt the same way about Johnny Cash. I didn't dislike Johnny Cash.
Did you meet him?
I wasn't a fan. No, but I tell you the story. My dad was on a road trip.
Yeah.
And they pulled off and to get something to eat. It was a little diner or something. Yeah. And they pulled off, parked, and my dad looked at, there's this bus. It's Johnny Cash's tour bus. So my dad, big Johnny Cash fan, he walked in. Of course, my dad, he just walks up and tells Johnny what a big fan he is. And they sat and talked through lunch. He went out to his bus and got a picture and signed it to my dad. And I thought, when I heard that story, I'm a fan for life, Johnny. Thank you for being nice to my old man.
Dude, I've done a lot of research on Johnny Cash. That's the type of guy he was.
Yeah. I've heard that since, yeah.
And knowing that he was nice to your dad makes me like him even more.
Yeah, cool guy. Just really nice.
Isn't that pretty cool? Let's sit down and chat.
Yeah, and then, wait a second. I got a picture. He went out to his bus and got a picture and brought it back and signed it to my old man. That's a pretty cool thing.
That's a man of the people right there.
It is. Absolutely.
Oh, my goodness. I like those type of encounters. unexpected encounters with big-time stars who are just ordinary average people
the
hanging out.
Price family showing up at your Nana's church to sing?
In a very small town, right?
That's amazing.
She told me that Brent was a pretty good singer, too. Yeah.
Huh.
But that was pretty cool because I was big. Brent Price was there like back in right around 1990, 1991. And I was a huge Billy Tubbs fan, and I loved the Sooners back then for the way they played. But yeah, Mark, obviously a better player, but Brent was a darn good college basketball player. They both could shoot the ball really well.
Yeah.
And Mark Price, there were so many teams like that in the late 80s, early 90s in the Eastern Conference who were great teams, but there were just immovable objects in the form of the Celtics or the Bulls or the Pistons.
76ers.
Yeah, so many great teams. The Milwaukee Buck teams that were loaded to the gills with talent. They just couldn't get through the gauntlet in the Eastern Conference. Atlanta the same way.
Yeah, Cleveland was, Jordan single-handedly took them out that one year, where he hit the game winner kind of coming across sideways across the foul line.
He owned them.
Over Craig Elo, and Price was a great free throw shooter, too. Unbelievable. Never missed.
No, he was up above the 90% range all the time. Great shooter. Lenny Wilkins, the coach of that team, I love their front court because they had Brad Daugherty at center, Larry Nance at forward, and then Hot Rod Williams at forward. That front court was pretty darn good.
They could
and then
rebound.
you had Elo and Price in the backcourt. That was a good starting five right there.
Yeah.
Man, it's amazing how many good teams there were back then. But they all looked at MJ like, we're screwed. So MJ victimized the Cavs in the playoffs multiple times and then had his career high of 69 against the Cavs in the regular season.
Well, you'll see Reed Shepherd. I think it'll remind you of Mark Price. I hope it will. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Reed Shepherd. Well, I think it was Ron Harper who, I think in the Last Dance, he was pissed because they put Elo on Jordan in that last-second situation, and Harper's like, whatever, man.
Yeah.
And then he goes out there, and MJ elevates over the top of Elo. Game over. Elo's a cool guy, though. He's a Coug.
Yeah. Oh, I remember him in college.
Remember, I played that clip once. I asked him if he had any Larry Bird stories, and he did. He had that one where he had gotten off to a good start in the Garden because he went into the locker room before the game, and Wilkins had the matchups posted. He knew it was on Bird, and Bird got off to a slow start, and Elo was feeling himself in the first half. So as they're going to the locker room, it was weird back in the Garden back in the day because both teams filed through the same hallway to get to the locker rooms, which is a little bizarre. And Elo said something like, "Hey, how you like that?" And
God. No.
So second half, Bird gets the ball in the wing, and he looks at Elo and says, "Hey, is your mom watching today?" And he goes, "Well, as a matter of fact, she is." "All right, tell her this one's going in left-handed." And Elo said, "You know what the result was? Swish."
Yeah.
Love that. All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the Rip City Drive. How about we talk some Mariners baseball coming up next, Godfather?
Yeah.
Why?
It's probably the most Mariner thing of all time, but we'll tell you what that is next as they open up a series against the Angels tonight. We'll talk with PGA Dave to break down the Open Championship at 5:20. LeBron James, Team USA, Winyan Gabriel, that's coming up at 4:20. Hey, Godfather, do you still have the picture of Johnny Cash?
I don't have it, and I think my brother might have it. I think he went through a lot of my dad's stuff and got it when my father passed away. So I think he has it. I hope he does.
Yeah, come on, Bruce. I want to see that picture, Bruce. Bring it into the studio right now, please. It's 3:46 on a Monday afternoon.
He'll do it. Don't say that. The poor guy's running around the state somewhere. I think he's got something going somewhere.
You know, it's funny. I've been reminding people that just a few weeks ago, the Mariners had a 10-game lead in division, and now they open up action today, tied with the Astros. They dropped 2 of 3 with the Astros over the weekend in their first series after the All-Star break, and now as a result of that, they are tied up atop the AL West with the Astros. Well, it's the most Mariner thing of all time, but apparently, according to stats, it is the fastest team to lose a 10-game lead in history. 24 days to lose a 10-game lead in the AL West. 24 days. Do you realize how hard you have to really ball out to make that happen?
And they beat the old record by, 10 days, I think. Wasn't it?
Yeah.
The old one was like 32 days, something like that.
Unbelievable. But yet so believable because it's the Seattle Mariners.
Yes. Yeah.
And what'd you say when you were watching them over the weekend? It's like every batter that comes up, it's like they're right just over 200.
I had to watch that series. And every guy that comes up, it's like, here we are in the 9th inning, and you got 2 outs and the tying run at second base or something. You trot this guy up here hitting 222. You haven't got anybody on the bench you can put in who's like hitting 250 or something? I mean, give me a break. You think you can win this game? Every guy they send up, but don't worry about a thing. They did release Ty France today, so they should get better just from that, I guess. There's a rumor that they're after Vlade Jr., and the unfortunate part of the rumor is they're interested in him, but apparently there hasn't really been any contact or negotiations at all to obtain him. But, they'd like to get him if somehow he landed on their doorstep.
I just don't understand how you can see what's taking place right now and not go out there and make a move to help this team out. And you know how it works, Godfather. If they went out and got a big bat to insert in the lineup, what would that do for everybody else in the lineup? It'd probably help them, right?
Yeah. And it's just adding a guy when your clubhouse knows you need a guy, that's an automatic lift. That gives everybody a lift, and it pumps them up. Hey, the front office is trying to help here. Now we got to do our part. We got to go out and give them something. And usually if you add the right player, and we saw the Atlanta Braves won the World Series a couple of years ago because they went out and got a whole new outfield at the trading deadline. Jock Peterson, Soler, those guys really won them the World Series.
Yeah, the difference there is that one franchise is committed to winning.
It's trying, yes.
And the other franchise, I think, is comfortable just being who they are.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me because I look at their pitching staff. I'm like, that's a team that can win in the postseason with their pitching.
Absolutely.
Then why would you want to sacrifice that? It makes no sense to me. And they better do something sooner rather than later because at this pace, if they don't make a move now, they're going to continue to fall.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of embarrassing, really, because their pitching is so deep, they could cut loose with a starter and a reliever if it meant bringing back a big-time bat. Somebody who can drive in runs for you, get on base, take a walk once in a while, all those things that help you win. And they could have done it the last 2 years, let alone this year. And they just haven't. They're asleep at the switch. They won't do anything. They're just jello.
They're not going to win the division, are they?
No. And I don't think a wild card from that division is going to make it either. Those records are not that good.
No, that's the problem. That's why they got to go out and do something now.
Mm-hmm.
It's so frustrating. I can understand why being a Mariners fan, you're like, you know what? I don't need this in my life anymore. I don't need this.
Yeah, it's disconcerting to say the least.
I mean, I think the most basic thing as a fan, I'm speaking for myself, but I think a lot of fans are with me on this. You just want to know that your team, whoever that may be, you just want to know that the people at the top are committed to winning. Are they willing to do whatever it takes? Mm-hmm. That means you go out and you make an effort to make things happen. Sometimes those moves don't work, but at least they made the effort to do so.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have some free agents coming up soon, and those guys are going to say, I want to go someplace where they're trying to win. I don't want to stay here if they're not even going to try. What's the point? Everybody wants to win. Believe me, in baseball especially, 162 games, when you're out of it, halfway through the season or three-quarters of the way through the season, oh, God, it's tough to finish off a schedule of that many games when you're dragging around in the middle of the pack or lower. If you're in the race, it's invigorating. Everybody's excited to come to the ballpark. Fans get you up every night. It's so different. It's really different.
All right, here's what we're looking at right now. In the AL East, Baltimore leads the division. They're 1.5 games up on New York. That's probably going to be a great race from now up until the end of the season.
Both teams end up in the playoffs, and Boston's making a nice push now, too.
They're 6.5 back. They're 8 games over 500 right now. In the Central, the
Cleveland.
Indians way out in front, 20 games up above 500. They're 5 games up on both the Twins and the Royals. You don't see Cleveland coming back to the pack, do you?
No, Cleveland's too good for that.
All right. In the AL West, it's the Astros and the Mariners. The Rangers, they're sitting there within striking position 5 games out, but it looks like a 2-team race, or it could be just a 1-team race if the Mariners don't go out and make a move.
Yeah. Or it could be 2 teams, the 2 in Texas. That's possible, too.
All right. In the National League, the Phillies, 8.5 games in front of Atlanta. They've got 63 wins. That's a runaway division, is it not?
Today is the first day of the season, Chad, where the Dodgers aren't the favorite to win the World Series. Wow. The Phillies are.
All right. In the Central, Brewers, 5 games up on the Cards. Cardinals haven't been playing better of late, but Milwaukee's been in control of the Central throughout. You think Milwaukee can hold on in that division?
I'm not so sure on that. We'll see.
And then the Dodgers, they're not going to be challenged in the West.
No, they're not.
Boy, Phillies and Dodgers in the playoffs might be pretty solid.
That would be a great series. Absolutely.
But the Phillies might be better.
They're better now, I think. Their pitching is better.
All right, we'll keep things rolling. Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. Good news out of Hillsborough today. We'll give you a quick update when we come back. And we're going to focus on some football. We're going to hear from John Harbaugh, head coach of the Ravens, talking about Lamar Jackson. Some high praise for Lamar. And then Aaron Rodgers explaining why he didn't really miss camp because it wasn't really a camp.
Yeah.
Apparently.
That's Aaron.
You got the Rip City Drive. Hey, what's going on, my friends? Chad here. It is now 4 o'clock. This just in. Warner Brothers Discovery, the home of TNT, informed the NBA today that it will match the $1.8 billion per year offered up by Amazon Prime Video, meaning TNT would likely carry games on Thursday night and other nights streaming on Max. Trailblazers finished up their summer league schedule at 3-2. Donovan Clingan finished with the most blocks per game in summer league history at 4.2. Spencer Dinwiddie agreed to a one-year deal with the Mavs. On the Diamond, Mariners kick off the day. They're tied up with the Astros in the West after dropping 2 of 3 to Houston over the weekend. They open up a set tonight against the Angels at T-Mobile Park. That first pitch at 6:40. Bryce Miller gets the call for Seattle. Justin Myers, host of Rip City Morning, is going to be broadcasting live from Lucas Oil Stadium Thursday for Big Ten Media Day. It's presented by Dick Hanna. Don't miss the live coverage, which will start at 6. Boy, Burkhart bringing it strong with the guitar today, Godfather.
Gotta love it.
All right, real quick. Great news out of Hillsboro. Our good friend Cale Wambacher, the general manager for the Hops, put out a picture of a couple of massive trucks today. They have officially broken ground on the new stadium.
Great news. So happy for the city of Hillsboro and for the Hops. Great organization, tremendous ownership. And KL does a great job for them.
That's true. And selfishly, we're just excited to have a great outdoor venue to go and watch concerts during the summertime.
Absolutely. That's what we've needed is that good outdoor venue. Perfect.
KL is the man.
He is the man.
It's amazing, too, with big projects. Once they break ground, like that's the hard part is getting to that point. But once they officially break, you're going to see things happening right away.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing how quickly they can erect a stadium. It blows my mind.
I hope they're taking pictures every day. You got to do that time lapse thing,
it's the
that they
best.
do when you're building a stadium or a building or whatever. Got to do that.
I've seen the time lapse for different venues when they set up for concerts and the breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
That is amazing to me. There's a lot of work that goes into those type of shows.
Yeah, you see that like at Moda Center. I've seen it changing over from like hockey to basketball or basketball to a concert. Those are fun.
I've been there. Oh, man, I wish they still played hockey at Moda.
I do, too.
I like hockey in Moda, Godfather.
Much better than the Coliseum. No offense, Wind Rocks.
I did that dash for dimes on the ice one time. Where you
Did you?
Yeah, did I tell you about that?
They threw the coins out there and stuff?
Yeah, I was out there with Shauna Parsons, and I can't think of the other guy's name from...
Well, you don't have to name any guys. Shauna Parsons, that's good enough.
She was great, but the problem is when I got there... We were treated like VIPs because we were like the, quote, celebrity. So I went back there, and they were like, would you like something to drink? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So they brought me a glass of wine, and it was like a Pinot Noir. But it was like a pretty hefty pour, right? So I finished that, and we were still waiting to go on. So everyone else was still hanging out, so I had another glass. The problem is, because I don't drink very often, the second glass put me in a state of... I don't know how to say it.
So I think when you're in that condition, it's always a good idea to go out on ice, right?
Yeah, it was not the best of ideas. So in other words, I had 2 hefty pours, and I might have been drunk, definitely buzzed. Things were spinning a little bit. But they gave you this giant oversized shirt, and you have to tuck it in, and then they put all these like silver dollars out there on the ice. Mm-hmm. Well, the problem is once they put them on there, it doesn't take long for some of the coins to kind of form with the ice. And so they put us on one end of the ice down there at the Winterhawks game. And I'm sitting there with Shauna Parsons and a bunch of other local celebs. And I'm trying to dash out on the ice after a couple of hefty pours of Pinot Noir and jamming those silver dollars down my shirt. I felt bad because it was for charity. And I feel like because of my condition, I did a crappy job.
And they stick to the ice after a while, right? Don't those coins?
Yeah.
They freeze right on the ice.
It was cold. And I'm stuffing it down the shirt. That was cold. It was just a bad scenario. I did not handle myself well. I did not prepare properly for that situation. I didn't know what was going on out there.
Was that as bad as the what were those things they put you in that big round ball thing where you ran and bumped into Justin?
The battle. No, I hate that. The
battle ball.
I'm never doing another competition during a Blazer game ever again because, one, Justin Myers, host of Rip City Mornings, humiliated me in front of everybody.
Yeah.
So they basically put you inside of one of those big battle balls, and your whole objective is to run as fast as you can and ram the other person, right? And whoever goes down, they have 3 rounds, and whoever goes down, that you lose that round, and they have 3 rounds. He destroyed me in back-to-back rams. Boom, boom. And the second time he hit me so hard that I went backwards and flipped over. And all I remember is looking up through the little hole in the ball, and Myers Leonard's like looking down inside the ball, and he's just shaking his head like, dude, you suck.
Stop! He's already dead.
That's right. But I was okay with that because Myers is a little stockier. He's lower to the ground. I'm 6'1". I didn't lean over far enough, and I got killed for it. But the one I really want back is losing the tic-tac-toe game to freaking Nigel Burton's going to give me an aneurysm.
Yeah, that one was bad.
Because I took callers from listeners. They gave me the whole plan on how to set up the board, and I did. He falled right into my trap, and I had the board set up, and all I had to do was go down, get the layup, and then take my little O over there and drop it on the board, and boom, it's game over. But wearing a Nurkic jersey shortly after Nurk Fever, I'm going down, and I trip, and I fall down to the floor, and I had to get up, grab the ball, and put my layup in, and my stumble, my lack of whatever you want to call it, allowed Nigel to have the time to win the game. And I was very bitter about that.
Hey, now you say you missed the layup and you had to deal with some stuff there, but since you actually played the tic-tac-toe there, tell us what it is about that game, because I have never seen a game that has failed more often than that tic-tac-toe. Like, people like, oh, there's the open space I need to win. Let me put my piece in a different spot every time.
Yeah, well, I didn't have that problem. I set up my board perfectly.
You did, but there's got to be something. Is there a glare on that board?
No, it's not a glare. I think what happens is that you think you know, but then you get out there and you're worried about the layup and everything's going so fast that you don't think clearly when you get up to the board. That's what happens. You know, it's like they say about, people who try to commit the perfect crime. The one thing they don't account for is what happens in that moment once you commit the act. You take the person out, and then all of a sudden chaos happens, and you can't account for that because you don't know what type of wires are going to cross once you commit the act. Same thing when you're out there playing tic-tac-toe. You think you know, but you don't know. I knew. I just tripped over myself like an idiot. Very moronic. And losing to Nigel, too. And he had fun with that one.
I think if he were here, he'd be bringing it up right now.
He would be. All right, let's take a listen to this. First off, this is courtesy of Pardon My Take. Aaron Rodgers, we know that the coach came out, Robert Saleh, and was like, Rodgers isn't here. It's an inexcused absence, which didn't even make any sense, but that's what he said, which was surprising. So everyone made a big deal over Rodgers not being there at camp. Well, here's Rodgers explaining the entire situation.
When I was in the NFC North and playing for that team years ago, there used to be a real thing called minicamp, where it was you had one of them usually. Sometimes it was right after the draft, but either way, it was 5 practices in 3 days: Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So 2 practices on Friday, 2 on Saturday, and 1 on Sunday. Now it's not minicamp. They can arbitrarily put a tag on whatever week of OTAs they want. So this is the mini camp week, which makes it somehow more mandatory than the other weeks. But it was an OTA schedule. That's how how words can be a little deceiving from time to time. You can make a story out of the fact that I missed a mini camp when it was really 2 OTA days.
Right. Interesting.
I came to the first 10.
Right. So this is a media thing.
All right. When they said, so it's a media thing, Rodgers just kind of put his hands up like, meh, and didn't say anything. Yeah. So in other words, he does think it's a media thing. So it wasn't a mini camp, Godfather. It was just a couple of OTA days. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, he's really good at sort of reshaping the thing the way he wants to. You could slap that mandatory on anything. Well, the fact is they did. They slapped it on that time that he wasn't there.
Yeah.
And he wasn't there, so you missed it.
I think what's going on here, first off, I think you and I both agree that Aaron Rodgers does not need a couple of OTA days to sharpen his skills. He's
of course
one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I think he's going to be just fine. my guess here is that if this were another quarterback, not Aaron Rodgers, the deal wouldn't have been blown up as much as it is. I think because Aaron Rodgers is outspoken, I think some people don't like his political stance or his arrogance and different reasons. So I think they're always looking for reasons to take shots at Aaron Rodgers. So that's why I think it got blown up into a bigger deal than what was needed. The one thing I still don't understand was why Coach Sala even commented or mentioned that Rodgers had an inexcused absence at camp. That's your franchise quarterback. I don't know why you're throwing him under the bus, especially when you're a coach that's not exactly on, secure footing because you haven't proven anything and we don't know if you're good at your job or not.
Well, he's sitting on just about the hottest seat in the NFL coming up, isn't he? I mean,
it's warm.
Yeah, it's warm, all right.
Yeah, because if it doesn't work with Rodgers, he's going to be gone.
Yeah.
See ya. That's how that's going to go down. So it's just weird to me that he would say that. But for Aaron Rodgers, I think people look to attack him because he annoys a lot of people. That'd be my guess there.
Well, he intentionally tries to annoy people.
Yeah, 100%. I like him. I think he's a great quarterback. I don't mind him because I think part of it, I look at it as entertainment. I think part of the stuff that he does when he's in front of a camera is I think he gets off on it. I think he likes annoying people, and people are going to take shots at him, and that's fine, but who cares? You miss a couple of OTA days. I do think it's funny that he got real specific on semantics. It's like, no, it's just a couple of OTA days. It's not minicamp.
Yeah.
But you like Rodgers. You like watching him play because he's such a great quarterback.
Yeah, I always loved watching him play. He's like a surgeon, the way he can pick a team apart. And, it's getting to be a long time since he went to won the Super Bowl, though. It's been 14 years, something like that?
Seems like a different lifetime.
It does, yeah. The memory of that is just about gone. And so it's a big year coming up for him. He's got a team around him that a lot of people think's pretty good. All they needed was a quarterback. He's that guy. So let's see what happens.
All right, one other thing. John Harbaugh, respect him. We respect his brother. The Ravens are one of the best-run organizations in all the NFL. And part of being a coach is making sure you've got a great relationship with your quarterback, Lamar Jackson being the guy here. And we'll just take a listen to this. He's obviously a big fan of Lamar.
And Lamar, for whatever reason, there's a lot of great things said about Lamar, but there's a lot of stuff that's said that you got to just scratch your head about and kind of wonder, what's that person even thinking, but we take it personally. Lamar's a guy all his life. Lamar Jackson has been a guy who's been answering those same questions. I'm talking about since he was a kid, junior high, high school, college, the draft, the success he's had in the National Football League, and it still comes up. Okay? He's still growing. He's got a growth mindset. He's going to get better and better, no doubt. But what does he have to do to prove himself to some people, right? And so the thing for me is it's talking about vision again. There's a vision. And I believe the Ravens and we've always had a vision for Lamar Jackson. It started with Lamar's vision and his mom's vision when he said he was going to be a quarterback. He was going to be a quarterback in high school. He's going to be a quarterback in college. He's going to be a quarterback in the National Football League. And we bought into that. We embraced it. We built an offense for it at 19. We're building another offense for it in 23 and 24 going forward, right? The next iteration of our offense around Lamar Jackson. Because in my opinion, the vision for Lamar Jackson, and it's a vision, it's something you see it like it's already happened. You can see it like it's already been done. The victory has already been won when you pour into a vision. And the vision that we have together is that Lamar Jackson is going to become and be known and be recognized as the greatest quarterback ever to play in the history of the National Football League.
There you go. The best quarterback to play in the history of the National Football League. That's high praise from John Harbaugh.
Do you share that vision?
Well, of course not. That guy would be Patrick Mahomes, who's currently with the Kansas City Chiefs, unfortunately. Yeah. Now, I do think Lamar Jackson still has room to grow and develop. I think he can do that. He's one of those guys that I want to have success because I respect him a great deal. I love him in the way he goes about his business. He works hard. He's got a great relationship with his teammates. He got a great relationship with his coach. He carries himself in the right way. And he's beloved in that city of Baltimore. They revere him there. He's just got to continue to work on being more consistent at delivering the football on time and on target from the pocket. That's it.
Well, and the funny thing is, he did make strides. Last year was the first year, Chad, that I thought he took giant steps toward doing that. He became a better passer. I think his judgment was better on when to tuck and run and when to just stay with the play. I liked a lot of what he did. I thought they were going to win the Super Bowl, honestly. And the way they collapsed suddenly in the playoffs was a shock to me.
It was. Not just to you, but to everyone. They were big favorites over the Chiefs at home. I thought they were going to win. And then for some reason, they decided to try and be a team they hadn't been all year. We're going to whip it around the field and forget about the run. Against the Chiefs, who didn't have a great run defense. Horrific. But losing a playoff game to Patrick Mahomes is not the end of the world. That happens.
Yeah, it happens to everybody.
Yeah. You just got to regroup and continue to battle. But with that coach and with that organization, they're going to be right there knocking on the door again. I mean, look how long Harbaugh's been doing it. You know, and they're good every year. They're a factor every year. They're physical. They're tough. They've got an identity. You know what type of team they're going to be. And, you know, it's nice when you're a coach like Harbaugh where you can find a quarterback that kind of shares that same vision and mentality. They work well together. All right, we'll get things rolling. We'll come back and more LeBron. Can't get away from him.
Foolishness.
Yep. Might have been upset with Steve Kerr. And we want to know how hard Clutch lobbied for LeBron to be a torch carrier at the Olympics. Yeah. How hard do you think they lobbied for that one, Godfather?
Real hard. There were some deals made.
Who got more money, Biden to step down or LeBron? The people paid off to make sure he carried the torch. We'll find out next.
Yeah.
Well, Godfather, I was very happy to hear that you and the crew are going to be heading down for Pup City on Saturday at Moda Center as well. So not just me and Puppy Shots, but you and the entire family and a host of dogs coming down with you.
Yeah, we got at least 3 dogs coming with us.
All right.
Yeah, Katie's going to go and bring. I'm not sure which of the dogs, maybe both, and then my niece Jennifer's going to come and bring her dog. And then, of course, Jack will be coming along with us. Jack's really come a long way recently. He's taking nightly rides around the golf course on the golf cart with us now, and that's he's enjoying that.
Oh, he likes taking a ride.
Yeah, he likes being in the golf cart for some reason.
Interesting. I would have figured he might want to be out on the course running around in the open grass.
We were a little concerned about that, yes. So he's still wearing the leash while he's in the golf cart just to make sure.
All right, so that's coming up on Saturday. Still time for you to register and be a part of it. Pup City, which is going to be this Saturday. That's July 27th. It's presented by Tavo. It's for dogs and for you. And there's going to be all kinds. You're going to meet down at Moda for a 1K walk around the Rose Quarter campus, led by Michael Holton, and the only cat that's allowed at the walk, which is Blaze. And they're going to have some sample drinks down there, courtesy of Corona and Hop Valley. DJ OG will be down there bumping some songs, tasty treats for you and, of course, your dog. Some of the vendors down there, Blue Star Donuts, Stumptown, that's very nice, Hungry Hound, and more. And if you go to nba.com/blazers/Pup City, you can register and take part. Registration opens at 9, and the walk will begin at 10 o'clock, and we should be done at 11 or just thereafter. So
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It should be.
I gave Puppy Shots a pep talk today. I was like, look, buddy, I know that you like to sleep all day for the most part. I know that you don't really care for other dogs because you bark at them all the time, but we're going to go out and have a good time. So he just looked at me and was like, yeah, whatever. What time are you coming home? That's all he cares about. Yeah. All right. Team USA, Godfather. A lot of different elements we want to get to here, especially with LeBron James. But first off, your takeaways from their narrow victory over South Sudan.
Well, they were very fortunate in that game, Chad. They were very fortunate. The U.S. was down by 1 and had the ball back with, I think, 15 seconds to go. And LeBron scored. He went to the left side, as he has a habit of doing, and made a layup. They had nobody who could defend him. I was a little surprised. The head coach for South Sudan is a guy named Ivy, who's an assistant coach with the Rockets, known to be a pretty good up-and-coming young assistant, but he should have thrown another player at LeBron and gotten the ball out of his hands because he's the one guy. He's not going to pull up and take a jumper. You'd love for him to do that. He's going right to the basket, and you can't stop that. Once that train is going, there's just no way you can stop him. And, of course, he goes to the basket, scores. But he left time on the clock for South Sudan. They come in and get a really nice bank shot, about 10-foot bank shot, and the guy just blew it entirely. I don't think he even hit the rim. But on the rebound, Wenyan Gabriel had the rebound and was going up, and Anthony Edwards grabbed his arm and just held it, no foul call, and the game ended. So if they called the foul, you would have seen Gabriel on the line with 2 free throws to win the game. So they didn't. But I was very impressed with South Sudan and how hard they played. They're very athletic. Only 2 borderline NBA players, Gabriel the most well-known. But, Chad, I mentioned to you earlier, I see the problem upcoming for the USA team, and it's a problem they're going to continue to have because the whole world now is embracing the three-point shot in volume the way they do it in the NBA. And that leaves you wide open for the large variance you get in three-point games. Some nights, I don't care if you got Curry, Thompson, the great three-point shooters on your team. Some nights, they just don't go in. That's just the way it works with three-point shots. And the other team, they can make theirs. And that's what happened in the South Sudan game. The Sudanese made their threes. The U.S., until the very end, did not. That puts you at risk every night you go out there to play.
So really, it's going to be like what we see in the NBA on nights in the Olympic play. If you're not making the three and the other team is, having a higher percentage of makes, or they just make a more total amount of threes, and you're going to have a hard time winning the game.
Exactly. And that easily could happen. And I think you have to guard against that by having a really solid inside game, which there's no excuse for the U.S. not having, given they have talented inside players. But they don't seem to me too willing to do that at this point. It's just a lot easier to come down and throw up threes. And, of course, they're not used to playing with each other, so they don't have as much structure as the other countries have. They have a little harder time getting good shots.
Well, I love these comments here from Wenyan Gabriel, former Trailblazer.
Yeah, good guy, too.
In regards to his team, South Sudan, quote, "We don't have any indoor basketball courts in our country. We don't have anything like that. We're a bunch of refugees that come together for a few weeks out of the year. This is much bigger than basketball for us." It's really scary when you got to play a team like that that's playing for a lot more than just a medal, and they're playing hard and together and for each other. That team can be dangerous.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because they're hungry.
They play very hard. And every game the USA plays, they're the target. People are going to play so hard against them because a win over them is like the miracle on ice was for us. The same thing.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Now, Steve Kerr, I can't imagine his role as head coach of Team USA, just from the standpoint that you've got to massage and manage all of the egos. According to reports, they started the second half of that game against South Sudan with LeBron on the bench. And according to reports, LeBron was not very happy about that situation.
Surprising, right?
Yeah, Kerr went with the lineup he thought would be best to really, kind of spearhead them defensively. LeBron was on the bench to start the second half, and I don't think he liked it very much. And that's going to be a real balancing act for Kerr throughout the course of the Olympics, is knowing what the right combination of guys is and going with that combination, even if you are at risk of maybe upsetting one of your star players. That's the hard part, because having your 5 best stars on the floor may not be the best combination to get you the victory based on who you're playing, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Just having 5 superstars. And we learned this quite a while ago, that sometimes you pick some role players along with these stars. The stars aren't accustomed to grinding the way role players are.
Yeah.
And you need the glue guys. And that's why, it's always a good idea to put a guy like, White. Let's say White from Boston. He's that kind of guy.
Yeah. He's not looking for touches.
Yeah, he doesn't care how many minutes he plays, but when you put him in, you're going to get 100% of him. And that's Draymond Green, another guy they put on this team a couple of times because they knew he was going to get mad at somebody, play the heck out of it on the defensive end, and throw his weight around a little bit on the boards.
I got to be honest with you. If Team USA lost in the Olympics, I'd be okay with it. Only because I'm so tired of the LeBron hype machine and Clutch Sports trying to do whatever they can to pump him up and try to make his legacy bigger than what it has been, because they're so concerned about him being considered the GOAT over Michael Jordan. I would love to see Team USA fall in dramatic fashion and see how LeBron handles it, how Clutch spins it, and how many fingers they point and who takes the blame for the loss.
I can tell you right now, it's not going to be LeBron's fault. It is not.
I get tired of the Clutch LeBron hype machine. It drives you mad, drives you crazy. And, of course, he doesn't start the second half. He's on the bench because Kerr wants a different combination on the floor. That's a problem. When has he ever been happy with a coach, by the way? Ever?
No.
No.
Huh. He wanted Spoelstra fired in Miami. Come on.
The best coach in the NBA?
Yeah, you couldn't ask for a better coach.
Hey, Pat, I can't deal with Spoelstra anymore. You got to get rid of him. I'm not going to do that. All right, great. I'm glad we had this talk. I don't know. It's maddening. Also, LeBron's carrying the torch.
No, the flag.
The flag.
Yeah. He's going to carry the flag out in front. That's the guy that's out in front, like the drum major, of the whole USA contingent when they march into the...
Of everyone.
The USA contingent.
All athletes.
Yeah, the whole bunch. They all come in together, but they have a male and a female athlete carrying flags coming in, leading the parade. And that's a big honor, and it's an election by the Olympians. So I have a feeling many of these Olympians in the future might be represented by Clutch Sports. That's my guess, Chad. They suddenly have good, solid representation in their field from Clutch Sports.
How insufferable will he be carrying that flag out?
Hey, ask Chris Burkhardt had a great take on it before the show. It's like, is there anywhere that LeBron would rather be than right there, Chris?
Yeah, because, quite literally, there's 590 some odd athletes in the United States team, and they're only going to zoom in on one. It's going to be the one holding the flag, and he's going to be on the TV set or phone stream of pretty much every country in the world. That's exactly what LeBron James wants.
Can't wait.
Yeah. By the way, you mentioned Wenyen Gabriel. I wrote a story about that kid when he was with the Blazers, and I had found out, I was tipped off. He left his wallet in an Uber coming back from the airport.
Yep.
And the guy found where he dropped him off and brought him the wallet. The Uber driver did. And Gabriel was just so touched that he would do that rather than just clean the money out, throw the wallet on the side of the ground, on the side of the road, and that he tried to give him money for finding it, and the guy wouldn't take money. I think he finally talked him into taking $20. Later on, Wenyen Gabriel put $2,500 in this guy's bank account. Now, this guy wasn't making big-time NBA bucks. Don't be thinking he's a millionaire or anything like that. But he was very kind to this guy.
How did you find out about his bank account? How did he know where to go?
He was able to look it up somehow. He talked to people who were family, I think, and figured out how to do it. But, he might have even sent it through a Venmo or something like that. But he did it, and the guy was $2,500 richer.
That's pretty sweet.
Really sweet.
Do you think Bank of America Venmoed $20 billion to Time Warner when they asked for that loan?
Yeah, we're in a contract thing here. Could you give us $20 billion?
Hey, TNT, do you take Cash App? Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah. Venmo? Sure. $20 billion.
That's some crazy stuff there.
How does that phone call go down?
Well, I don't think it's a phone call. They might have to see you in person for a loan like that.
With papers.
Yeah. But it has to be, it has to be a part of their offer because the speculation is Amazon's putting a lot of money up front. And they figure the TNT couldn't do that because TNT wouldn't have that kind of cash.
Wenyen Gabriel's a good dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember your story on that and him taking care of the Uber driver, and that makes me happy.
I also remember he started a game. It was the Kobe Bryant game in L.A. You remember that game? And the Blazers beat the Lakers that night on the Kobe Bryant night where they had, it was the first night after he had been killed in the tragic helicopter accident. Gabriel played a part in that win.
He did.
Made some shots.
I just remember the one guy that did not play a part in that win, Mario Hezonja. He was the one guy that came on the floor and things started to go sideways. And I just remember Dame having a little pep talk, and I wasn't there to hear the conversation, but I'm pretty sure it was like, look, man, I've got this. I'm on fire. We're going to get a win tonight. Don't screw it up. But, yeah. Hezonja, Dame was on fire. Gabriel played a big part. You were down there for that one, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. That was an unforgettable game.
It's a weird game. I was there, too, and I don't remember any of it. We were so busy with work and then the emotions of the game. I looked up and I was like, oh, there's 5 minutes left in the game. We got to go. It was a weird game, man.
You ever covered a game like that?
I don't recall anything quite like that. I do remember, though, on the way into the game, walking through LA Live, and there was that whole portion there where fans, oh, my gosh, Chad, it'd break your heart. They brought trinkets and his replica uniform tops and notes and oh, man.
It was basically almost an entire city block's worth of stuff, Dwight.
Yeah,
I mean, I've never seen so much stuff. And we were there for a few days, Chad, and it was days. All night long there was fans. It was unreal.
Yeah.
The thing I loved the most was Lawrence Tanter, the public address announcer. All 5 starters announced as Kobe Bryant that night for the Lakers.
Yeah. Best PA man in the business, by the way.
There's no question.
Nobody like him. That voice is golden.
Yeah, I met him once. I was very happy about that. Ran into him down at Staples in the media room. And, of course, I love Lawrence Tanner. He's like my favorite. So as soon as I saw him, I was like, whoa, that's Lawrence Tanner. So I rolled up and started talking to him, and he was the nicest guy ever. He used to be an old school, jazz DJ and radio. So he's a radio guy.
He used to have the great way. All those announcements they make before the game, he'd always save this one for last. And please, no smoking.
It is funny that people used to light up in arenas back in the day.
Oh, Chad, there'd be a big cloud above the court, just a giant cloud of smoke drifting across from all those guys. Not only cigarettes, but those stinky cigars. And the cigar was likely coming from the Boston bench with Red Auerbach lighting up the victory cigar.
All right, we'll keep things rolling. We will talk with PGA Dave to break down the Open Championship at 5:20. Dwight and Chad, Rip City Drive. Well, this song doesn't suck, Godfather. I'm down with this.
Big time. One of the great songs.
All right, Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. We are joined in studio today by a guy who wanted to come and hang out with us. I never understand why someone would want to choose to use their time by spending time with us in studio. Why would someone do that?
You got to have something better to do than this, right?
It probably takes a variety of brain damage to choose to hang out with us. But Brandon Risley is in studio, and he is a radio guy from Hood River. Brandon, welcome in, buddy.
Thank you, Chad. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So I guess first off, where are you from? So you are from Portland, but you're out in Hood River right now.
Yes. From Portland originally, out in Hood River right now, working out there, and went to school in Utah and Salt Lake City. And, yeah, now just back in the Northwest.
And you went to Cleveland High School. We
I
just
did.
found this out. Dwight's from Cleveland. Brandon is from Cleveland. We got a couple of Cleveland guys in here. Is Phil Knight from Cleveland, too?
Of course.
He is.
All the greats are from Cleveland High. Are you kidding me?
My
Hey,
bad.
Nuts?
Oh, my goodness. Where'd you go to school in Salt Lake City?
University of Utah.
Oh, sweet. How was that experience?
It was awesome. I had a
What are
great-
the football games like there? I want to go to a game. They're so bad.
They're very loud for as small of a stadium as we had in the Pac-12. Now moving to the Big 12, but they can get very loud. Some of my fonder experiences there was, I think 2013 we beat Stanford, number 5 team in the country. But the fans are great. They just upgraded the stadium a couple years ago, and now I think it went from 45,000 to 53,000.
Yeah.
But the atmosphere is great. Tailgating's fun. Yeah, it was just overall a great experience.
I don't want to speak for you, Godfather, but he and I are both big Kyle Whittingham guys. We love the coach.
Oh, I love Kyle.
He's the best.
Yeah, he is. What a great guy. Your program's in perfect hands with a guy like him.
Yeah, Kyle's been great. He's been great to the program, recruited great. Even with being in a state that for the Pac-12 isn't as well known, or was at the time, wasn't as well known. You were still getting some California guys and some guys from Texas and Florida and whatnot. That it was funny when they come in, they'd never seen snow before, and then when November and December would hit, they'd be like, "What is this stuff falling from the sky?"
Yeah, it's a brand new experience for
Yeah.
him, for sure. Now, this is what's crazy. So I come in, I'm like, Dwight, we got someone shadowing us today, and he asked who it is, and I said, I don't know. He just reached out to me and wanted to come in. So I'm like, he's in. So Brandon's coming in. So he walks in, and then Burkhart's like, well, who is the guy? And then come to find out, Burkhart knows him more than I do.
Yeah, my wife worked with his mom, and when I was working there too at Cascade Athletic Club, and he shadowed me multiple times when I was working at NBC back when this was before he went on to Utah. He's still a high school kid, so I think he actually might have been right when it might have been his freshman year in Utah. Either way, it was right around that time. But yeah, I was like, oh yeah, I know him. That's kind of funny.
Did you go to high school out here?
I went in Gresham, went to Centennial High School.
All right, there you go.
Go Eagles.
And you went to Utah to swim, right?
I did.
How
Yeah.
many people go to Utah to swim?
Not a lot. The program has grown since I've been there.
Did you get a scholarship for that?
I was scholarship my freshman year.
Yeah.
For a little bit, but then kind of became a walk-on later as the program got better.
Well, I'm sorry about that. I wasn't trying to bring up a sore subject.
Oh
my friend.
no, I still had a great time. I knew my role on the team and still had a great time. What was nice is not being one of the top end swimmers was I flew under the radar, and if I overslept and showed up late to practice, it wasn't that big of a deal.
All right, so I see what you're
What
saying.
did you swim?
I was mostly a butterflyer and an IMer.
Wow.
The butterfly's hard. That takes a lot of energy.
It takes a lot of energy. I loved racing it. The shorter distances, not so much the longer distances. Training was not fun.
Oh, the train's hard. Why is that?
Many hours of doing butterfly over
Yeah.
and over and over. Your shoulders are crying by the time you get out of the pool.
Weight room, too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I figured that.
Lots of weight room.
What a
How many
stress.
hours a day you're in the pool?
We were probably in the pool 3.5 hours a day. We do daily
Holy
doubles.
crap.
Yeah. Our morning
Waterlogged.
practices. Our morning practices would be about an hour and a half, And then usually our afternoon was anywhere between like 1:45 and 2:15.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so about 20 to 22 hours a week, depending on how things fell.
What'd you study at Utah?
I was a communications major.
All right, communications major, and you're working for a station out in Hood River right now?
Yes, a station called KIHR. We run mostly country music, but we also do a news talk show in the early mornings.
Dude, we got something in common. One of my first stations I started working for, good old Don Koss from Portland Wrestling. He had multiple radio stations. One of them was 1460 KCKX Cowboy Country. And they ran country music most of the time, but for high school sports, Staten and Regis down in the Valley, I would go down and call games. And so I would pop on and interrupt the Cowboy Country to call high school games down there. So I can relate to that.
Nice. Yeah, my boss does all the Hood River Valley Eagles football, men's and women's basketball, and baseball and softball games on the air.
And you're living up there right now. I like Hood River, and they got good golf up there. Obviously, it's like the, isn't it like the, what do they call that? You get on the surfboard with the, what do they go?
The
Parasailing?
windsurfing.
Windsurfing.
Yeah, windsurfing capital of
the world.
Of
right?
the world, I
Yeah.
think, yeah.
Yeah, you go down there during summertime, it's packed.
Oh, it's
So many people out on the river.
yeah. If you go to the waterfront, lots of people just milling around the park and watching the windsurfers.
Well, thanks for coming in and joining us today, buddy.
Thanks for having me. It's been great.
What have you learned so far by observing a couple of clowns?
You guys love to talk sports, and that's pretty much what I want to do.
All right, so you're a Utes fan. It sounds like you could be a frustrated Mariners fan, and you're a Duck fan.
Yep.
Now, who gets the number one slot, Utah or Oregon?
Ooh. I think
Just be honest.
I think since I've been to Utah, Utah's taken over the top spot.
Yeah.
When I first got there, I leaned more toward the Ducks. But now they're in different conferences, so
You
now
can
I'm
pull
not
for
as
both.
conflicted. We don't play every year.
Utah's going to be legit this year.
I hope so.
A bunch of experience coming back. Stupid idiot. All right. We'll keep things rolling here on the show. When we come back, we do have some goodies to give away. Dwight and I, as we always remind you, we care about people, and we want to help them. So today we got tickets for Chris Jansen, who's going to be up at the Clark County Fairgrounds August 4th, which is a Saturday night. We got a pair of tickets for Chris Jansen coming up next. And then PGA Dave is going to talk Open Championship with us at 5:20, and we'll get into the Summer League next. Our takeaways from the time down in Vegas, especially in regards to Donovan Clingan. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, it's 5 o'clock. Chad here. The Mariners kick off a big night tonight against the Angels after dropping 2 of 3 against the Astros. They open up the day tied with the Astros in the AL West. The Mariners also the fastest team to lose a 10-game lead in the division. It took just 24 days. First pitch tonight from T-Mobile Park at 6:40. Bryce Miller is going to be on the bump for Seattle. Don't forget Justin Myers broadcasting live from Lucas Oil Stadium Thursday for Big Ten Media Day. It's presented by Dick Hanna. That coverage will start at 6. The Trailblazers finish up Summer League action at 3-2. Donovan Clingan was impressive. Most blocks per game in Summer League history at 4.2. And also this just in, TNT has informed the NBA that they will match the $1.8 billion per year offer by Amazon Prime Video, meaning TNT would likely carry games on Thursday with other nights streaming on Max. Hey, how much do you pay attention to election coverage? How do you find that balance to keep your sanity?
Hardly any on television. Online, yeah, I kind of track things on social media.
Yeah.
Links to stories that I think I might like, but it's really difficult right now with, it used to be a little different. There wasn't as much sniping back and forth.
Yeah.
Stuff that used to be called dirty politics that people didn't really do.
Now that's just commonplace.
Oh, the memes on social media are crazy. I'm telling you. Kamala might be a week of this. I don't know if she's going to want to continue on. I mean, this is nasty stuff.
That's my big takeaway. Why would you want to involve yourself in such activities?
I think it's really difficult.
All right, we have goodies, Godfather. We have goodies. We got a pair of tickets to give away for Chris Jansen, who's going to be at Clark County Fairgrounds. I mean, heck, you're going to be so close to me. Just come on by, and I'll give you a cup of coffee before the show.
Chad's easy. You got his phone number already. Why not just drop by and have breakfast?
Just hit me up, man. Hang out. We can chill before the show. All right, so it's going to be at Clark County Fairgrounds August 4th. It also includes fair admission, which these days might save you $100.
Yeah, that's true.
Amazing, the fares. The prices are going up, but we got the tickets right here with fair admission. Chris Jansen, August 4th at Clark County Fairgrounds. Richfield!
Clark County!
Center! Yeah! All right, if you want a pair of tickets for Chris Jansen, call now 503 Hood River! 503-248-0620. Fire away right now for Chris Jansen tickets. By the way, who the heck is Chris Jansen?
I wish I could help you with that. I can't.
All right, let's see if we can pull up some Chris Jansen in the system so we can give a sampling. I want to know what we're giving out to people here. Chris Jansen tickets on the line right now. 503-248-0620. August 4th, Clark County Fairgrounds. 503-248-0620. Light them up. You can go see Chris Jansen right now.
Light him up.
Is it Chris Jansen, that guy that used to have that show where he would To Catch a Predator?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, that's Chris Hansen.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, Chris Jansen, I think, is he in relation to like the, Jansen swimsuits? I had a Jansen swimsuit.
I think his name's Janson.
Oh.
Was it Jansen?
Jansen's got doesn't it have a Z in it? Jansen?
Wasn't Jansen that was here in Portland, right? Was it off Sandy Boulevard?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
You remember.
Yeah.
And they had the swimmer left field on the left field fence in Civic Stadium.
I do remember that from working out at when I used to work for the Beavs.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. You and I both have history of working for the Beavers.
I know. That is kind of cool.
Based on the stories that you've told me, yours a lot more exciting than my time.
Mine were a little juicier than yours, probably. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Heard a lot of stories.
My biggest excitement was finding out that those feral cat feeders that we had down below in the bowels of the stadium was legit. Like, they were legit, like, gigantic cats down there.
Yeah.
I never saw one, but based on when I did a little read-up on feral cats, I don't want to encounter one of those.
Oh, they're nasty, huh?
Big and nasty.
Yeah.
They're not like the cute little meow meows that you can walk up to.
No. They're closer to mountain lions.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and then when you walked in the bowels of the stadium, they were like, with the rocks and everything, like there were just a lot of dark corners, and I was always afraid or felt like the ceiling cat was watching me.
Yeah, and there were rats there because the concessions were always located down on that bottom level. And anytime you have food around, especially in that kind of environment, especially food that, I don't know, stuff that they put out that didn't get used, I don't know whatever happened to that, but it might have been tossed aside.
I've always been afraid, too. Like, do you think ballparks recirculate certain foods that weren't eaten?
I would just say this. In the old days, all right, at that stadium, I think it was called Multnomah Stadium in those days. Yeah, they used to pull those hot dogs out of those boiling pans. And then the next day they'd use them. They started to turn a little green, and you'd have to paint them with something to get off the green. But you'd sell them again.
That's a problem.
That's the old days now. I have known nothing about what's going on nowadays.
That is a problem. All right, Summer League, it's over with. The Blazers, I would say, a successful trip to Vegas, especially in light of Donovan Klingen's play. So just your overall takeaways from what you saw from Summer League.
Well, Klingen was really the whole show. It was nice that Murray was down there and Rupert was down there. They both needed that, I think. But there's no question Klingen was the show, and I was very impressed. I think my overall I agree totally with what Sean said. The things he's supposed to be good at, he confirmed that down there. Rebounding and blocking shots, being mobile, being able to get to shooters, blocked some jump shots, blocked a 3 or 2. I think that most satisfied me. Everything else down there is pretty meaningless, you have to admit. You can't put a lot of stock into it. But the things that translate, the things they were looking for from Klingen, they saw.
And that's what matters. What you see, what can translate. I think the defense is probably the most enticing part. And I'm not worried about the offense because, like you said, he'll have time to work on his shot, work on the NBA three-point shot, and hopefully develop into a reliable factor from out there where if the defense isn't going to cover him, he can knock down shots.
Yeah, and his offense is going to get better when he's playing with other offensive players. He won't be even a third option when they get together. He'll be a fifth option most likely. So it's likely he'll get one-on-one opportunities in the post. I think he can do damage down there if he's fed the ball in the appropriate spots and gets a lob here and there. Yeah, I think he'll be okay.
Anyone else on the team jump out at all?
No, not really. I thought Rupert did some things. He's a bit of a tease right now. You see things out of him. You just don't see him often enough to go ahead and project him forward as a rotation guy yet. Now he's still young. You might see those. People compare him a lot to Batum, and if he's like Batum, then it'll happen for him in training camp, not in summer league.
And Reed Shepherd, the best non-Blazer you saw.
Yeah, by far. Yeah, and the bigs I saw down there, Chad, I wasn't very impressed with. Sarr especially. His first game was a nightmare. I think he was 0 for 15 from the floor, something like that. It was terrible. I didn't see Edey enough to really get an opinion, but people seem to like him down there. He made the All-Star team and I think was MVP, actually. But Reed Shepherd was the guy. He's going to come in and play.
All right, so what's next for the Blazers then? They continue to scour and look for potential deals. Mm-hmm. And then for the players, they just continue to work out on their own until camp arrives.
Yeah, the young players should be there most of the summer. Now, I would expect right about now, this is usually this and early August when they might take a week or two and go home and, have some fun at home or go to the beach or whatever they like to do for fun on vacation. But then they'll come back and they'll be here probably a month before the veterans report to camp. They need that month just to kind of get in the swing of things and know what's happening.
You know what's nice about Klingon, how everything fell into place on draft night and then his play at Summer League. Most of the storylines surrounding the Blazers of late have been difficult with the losing and the injuries and guys being in and out of the lineup and getting no consistency. Scoot had a rough first year. But I felt like for the last few weeks, all the discussion around the Trailblazers was positive because of the performance from Klingon. That was a nice change for a while.
Yeah, I think so. And he's a guy, too, that is very impressive with his charisma and his competition. He competes, and that's really nice to see. You could really see that in him, that he wants to win. He's a winner, and he's going to come to a place where he's not going to do a lot of winning, but he's still going to be out there pushing.
All right, we got David Coleman, PGA Dave, coming up here in a few minutes to talk about the Open Championship. I think Brandon looked it up. So all 4 majors this year won by USA players. Mm-hmm. And that was the first time that that's happened since 1982.
Can you imagine? That's hard to believe.
That is hard to believe, especially considering some of the players the U.S. has had over that time span.
Well, yeah. How about the whole Tiger Woods era? He was winning half those by himself.
That's crazy. Huh.
And there were some other pretty good golfers going around at that time that you would have thought would pick off a major.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, with Schauffele, is he going to emerge as the top player now? He's got 2 of the 4 majors this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great question for
so
Dave
it's
Coleman.
Scotty,
Bryson,
and then Schauffele. Those are your 4.
Yeah.
Well, I do have some information on what they used to do with the food at the old Beavers games. Sweet Lou Pinella came on and explained it to me once. You want to hear that?
Oh, yeah.
You sure you want to hear that?
Hey, I'm positive.
All right. Here's Sweet Lou on how they used to handle old wieners and donuts at the ballpark.
Well, when you're in the minor leagues back then, you got about $7 or maybe $8 a day for your food. And, we would spend that on beer. I can say that now that I'm out of the game. And for the food, we would go into the training room and into the offices there, and they would always have leftover donuts there, and we'd get some leftover donuts, and then we'd go down to, they'd be shutting up the snack bar if we get there in time, and they had 10, 15, 20 wieners in there, and we would get the wieners and the donuts, and usually the next morning we would put the wiener into the opening there of the donut, and we'd heat it up.
There you go.
So you put the wiener into the opening in the donut and then heat it up.
Yep.
Wonder what you call that.
A snack.
Breakfast. Gosh. I sure wish that Sweet Lou would give us a call when
he's going to. He's always willing to respond to my text messages, but he's not reliable on consistency. Trying to nail him down on a time is not easy, man. Give me a break.
Well, he's not involved in baseball anymore, so he doesn't have to obey the rules.
That's true. Well, I think he's worried about Juanita, his wife, getting on him. But based on what he tells me, I think he's always scouting. That's what I think he's always doing.
Sure, he's scouting. Scouting for what is the question?
I just think that certain guys like that, you can't get them away from the game completely.
Yeah, that's
They're always,
for sure.
Always got their eye on a young ball player or something. All right, we'll break down the Open Championship and what's next in this golf season.
This is our boy Chris Jansen, by the way.
Hey, give me some volume on that. All right, Chris Jansen, August 4th at Clark County Fairgrounds. More tickets coming this week.
Could be any one of 25 country singers, if you ask me. They all kind of sound that way, don't they?
Yeah. They could throw a hot tour in there. All right. PJ Dave's up next. Oh, I don't know if I told you this, but I'm actually, when the show's over, I'm heading over to Justin Meyer's house. So I'm going to interrupt happy hour with he and the wife.
Wow. I'm not sure he'd even let you in.
I know.
during
I've
happy hour.
never been to his crib before. Oh, great. Located in such a wonderful spot, too. And traffic now just makes every trip, no matter where you're going in town, miserable. Miserable. But you grew up right in the area where he's at.
Yeah, I did. Well, kind of in his area, yeah.
All right. So that's where I'm heading after the show. And joining us right now to talk about the Open Championship is our PGA insider, David Coleman. PGA Dave is back. Hey, Dave, do you enjoy watching the best of the best struggling like we saw in the Open Championship due to the conditions? What's your take on that?
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me back on. I think it's a great test of golf, and I think it's so different because it's so unique and it's so different than what we see week in and week out on the PGA Tour or Live or whatever you watch nowadays. So I think it's fun to see that, they've got all these different bunkers that are more like hazards, and you really got to kind of navigate your way around the golf course, and instead of just getting up and trying to bomb it like we saw some guys do, Rory, Bryson, they really struggled, and to me, you had to be very strategic going around Royal Troon.
Well, that leads us to the winner, Xander Schauffele, and his second major of the year, which is a very eventful situation. I need to ask you about that, Dave. Can we look to this guy now to be kind of that guy for a while? You know how you have to have that guy at the top? Can he replace Scotty Scheffler as that guy?
I don't know if he's going to replace Scheffler, but I think if Scheffler's 1A, I think Schauffele is 1B. They're right neck and neck with each other. I think, Scheffler, to me, obviously has one more tournament, probably can close a little bit better. Even this year, the Scheffler's putting has improved a lot. We're seeing that Xander's picked up a lot of distance. I think that was something that, he was always pretty long off the tee, but now it seems like he's really gained another gear, and with having that other gear, I mean, we saw that yesterday where Justin Rose was hitting at about 310 or 315 off the tee with like 177 ball speed. Xander was more like 340 or 350 with like 185 ball speed. So I think when you have that kind of length, and Xander has improved around the greens a lot, I think he's worked really hard with Callaway, the equipment companies, where they've really provided him a lot of information on the golf courses, especially at these major championships. So I think, he's just taken it up a notch, not only physically, but mentally as well. And I think it's put him in a really good place. And I think his whole situation off the course is good. And I think he's in a really good place right now where he can be that number one player in the world. And you look at him in the press conference afterwards, guys, I don't think anything really phases this guy. It seems like he just goes out and just goes and plays golf. And, if that, to me, he keeps it easy, which is nice.
And don't you think that mental side that you mentioned with Schauffele is going to lend itself to majors in the future because he's not going to get too high or too low, and if he goes to a rough patch, it's not going to disturb him to where he'll fall off the map like we see with Rory sometimes.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, absolutely. When a major rolls around him, you look at his record over the last several majors, he's been in the hunt, or he's been right there and won. So there's no doubt. The majors are the toughest tests in golf. I mean, you look at the courses they'll play next year, obviously Augusta, Quail Hollow, Oakmont, and Royal Portrush. I mean, there's no doubt Schauffele can be in the hunt or win at any of those type golf courses because with the way he's driving the ball, the way his iron game is. I mean, I heard a guy talking today on Sirius XM on the PGA Tour channel saying that the way he's hitting his irons right now, they're coming in so soft. It doesn't matter, what iron he's hitting, a long iron, a mid iron, a wedge. I mean, his angle of descent coming into the green is it's like Tiger from like 25 years ago, the guy was saying. So it's incredible where he's at right now, and there's no doubt that, with his background too, I think his father, was a military guy, and his father instilled a lot of discipline in him when he was young, and I think that really helps at a major championship.
I listened to you talk about him getting a lot of information from Callaway and working closely with them, getting better with his irons, and then all the data that he's able to process, and then getting stronger off the tee. It seems to me a little bit of a correlation with DeChambeau in that they're both kind of taking the same approach. Could that be far wrong?
No, I think that's a good point, Dwight. I think there's no doubt that they're both kind of doing the same thing. I think Bryson is probably more outspoken, and obviously with the YouTube stuff, he's a lot more in the public eye. Where I think the other thing too that Xander's done is he's, from what I understand, he's moved down to South Florida. I think he has a residence down there in the Jupiter, West Palm Beach area, where a lot of these guys live, and they play at some of these big time courses. And if you're playing with these top guys, or even guys that are trying to come up on the tour, that's going to keep your game sharp, because they're playing money games, and they're gambling, they're betting at all times, because hey, they want to, because that's how you stay relevant, and that's how you stay competitive no matter what time of the season it is. So I think that's definitely helped him a lot. And I think the fact of the matter too is I think he just got sick and tired of hearing people say he can't close out tournaments, he can't win majors. We all knew he would do it. It was only a matter of time before he would start winning big tournaments. And I think now, I think there's no doubt he could win more majors than Rory for sure.
We're talking with our golf insider, PGA David Coleman, here on the Rip City Drive. What surprised you the most with the Open Championship?
I think Jon Rahm. Jon Rahm, I did not think he was going to play that well. Jon Rahm had shown no form. We saw that foot injury he had a real problem with at the U.S. Open at Pinehurst, and the fact that Jon Rahm was somewhat in the mix, I think it's a good sign. And I think, you look at the majors next year, like the courses we talked about, because we're not going to see him as much because he plays over on the LIV Tour, but, when the majors roll around, I definitely think he can be a factor next year. I think what was surprising about him this year is it seemed like he was so worked up about the whole thing about, the tours coming together and all that. And then I think, he was listening to a lot of the media and what people were saying about him. And I think he just finally said, I got to just go play golf. And I think that helped him a lot. The conditions were really tough, and he was way under the radar coming into this past week at Royal Troon. And, it was good to see him play well and be in the mix again, because I think golf is a better sport when Jon Rahm plays good.
Are you as surprised? Maybe you're not as surprised as we were to hear that that's the first time since 1982 that an American has won all four majors?
I wasn't that. I guess the biggest thing, Dwight, is, since then, you look at, that was around the time when the Ryder Cup really started growing and peaking in popularity in the 80s. So there were so many more Europeans that came on. And then when Greg Norman and Nick Price and a lot of those other international players started playing a lot more in the 80s on the PGA Tour, they got all these other guys from these foreign countries to start playing more and more on the U.S. Tour, obviously the European Tour, and that got them into the majors. So I think the depth of the talent is so deep around the world, and I think it was almost kind of fluky how it happened, because we know there's so many good international players on these different tours now, and a lot of them come over here to play college golf now with the NIL stuff, and just the way it's set up where, they want to get some experience playing in the U.S. if they are thinking of turning pro. So I think there's no doubt there's so much talent out there. So I think it was just kind of a crazy thing that happened. And, yeah, it's good for American golf. And I think for Keegan Bradley being the Ryder Cup captain, it's a very good thing, because it's going to make him, a happy man when hopefully these same guys are playing well next year when the Ryder Cup rolls around at Bethpage Black.
And Dave, I wanted to ask you something about that was going on last weekend on our soil, and that's the Barracuda Championship. Nick Dunlap won that again, I think, and that's a Stableford scoring system. Tell me about Dunlap. What's going on with him?
Yeah, what a great win for him, man. That was awesome. I mean, he was an amateur at the beginning of the year, and he won the Amex, the old Bob Hope tournament out in Southern California. It was during the NFL playoffs, so not many people were probably paying attention to it in the world of sports, and he literally he wins the tournament as an amateur, the first one to do that since Mickelson 30-some years ago, and he had a huge decision to make. Was he going to go back to college at Alabama, or was he going to turn pro? And he did the right thing. He turned pro. I mean, because now he got in all the signature events. He got in some of the major championships, and he really had to, take this opportunity, because it gave him a 2-year exemption on the tour, and it opened a lot of doors for him financially as well, now that he was a pro and he was no longer just an amateur. So it was a great opportunity for him. And since he's turned pro, I mean, I wouldn't say he struggled, but he hasn't lived up to that. And it was weird because, the British Open is kind of one of the tougher majors to get into, and he obviously didn't get in that field. So he played this opposite field event, which is a combination event of the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour, and it's a Stableford scoring thing where it's about points. It's not about strokes.
Yeah.
Anything you make double bogey or higher, you get the same amount of points. You lose points, so you want to be in the positive in that scoring system. And Dunlop, was playing well all week, and then he made a bomb for an eagle on 16, and that was really the difference in the tournament. And winning that, guys, he's got a very good chance of now getting in the FedEx Cup playoffs. And obviously, he's got status for a few years now. First guy to ever win in a tournament as an amateur and as a pro in the same year. Tiger never did that. Mickelson never did that. Nicholas, Palmer, any of the greats never did that. So pretty heady company he's in with that win yesterday now.
Hey, Dave, I wanted to ask you see if you have any thoughts on Mark Carnevale, who passed away unexpectedly at the age of 64. He went to UNC. He was a PGA Tour member and a player, won the Chattanooga Classic, and also was a broadcaster.
Yeah, really sad story, guys. Talk about a guy that really fought his way to get on the tour in the late '80s, early '90s. Wasn't even thinking of turning pro coming out of college, and he ended up winning the Chattanooga Classic, like you said. I think he won on the Korn Ferry Tour as well. And then, like a lot of guys, it's really hard to stay out there, and like we see that in all sports. What do you do in your second career? Well, he became one of the best broadcasters on Sirius XM on the PGA Tour channel, did an unbelievable job covering the tournaments, covering the tour. The players all respected him, and it was really sad, unexpected news that he passed away. He was just doing broadcasting the Scottish Open last week. So this is a guy that was one of the great commentators, one of the great voices of golf, and he's going to really be missed. There's no doubt, because he was a guy that I always felt like whenever you were listening to the PGA Tour channel on Sirius XM, you heard his voice. You knew there was a lot of credibility with it, because not only was he a great player, but a lot of the players respected him because they knew he was a guy that they could really talk to, because he had been in the heat of battle on the PGA Tour, and he's going to be missed, man. I mean, my thoughts and prayers are with him and his family and all his friends on the tour and connected in the world of golf.
All right, so what's next? What are you going to keep your eye on now that the majors are out of the way?
Oh, FedEx Cup playoffs, man. There's no doubt. I mean, obviously the playoffs are coming up. We got, the FedEx St. Jude in Memphis, and then they're going to go to Castle Pines, which they haven't played that in a long, long time for the BMW. And then obviously the Tour Championship down in Atlanta, at East Lake. So you got three huge playoff events. And now with Xander winning another major, and we also have the Olympic competition coming up as well, which will be a lot of fun. Over in Paris, same course they played the Ryder Cup at back in 2018. So those are going to be two fun events. But I think if Xander can make some noise in the playoffs, and even if he does well in the Olympics, I think there's going to be some talk. If he, can win maybe multiple events, he can maybe beat Scotty for Player of the Year. But at least we have a discussion now. It's going to be fun, because a few weeks ago it was pretty much Scotty and a runaway. But Xander's made it interesting, and that's going to be really good for golf the last few weeks of the season.
All right. He's our golf insider, PGA David Coleman here on the Rip City Drive. Dwight and I always love our conversations with you. Thank you so much, my friend. We'll catch up soon, and we hope you have a great week.
Yeah, you guys do the same, and thanks again for having me on, and it was an awesome major, and talk to you guys soon.
You got it. There's PGA David Coleman.
He's the best. I say it every time he's on, but he is the best.
He is a golf encyclopedia.
Gosh.
It makes a lot of sense now if you think about it. The Ryder Cup became big, and much like what happened with the Olympics in '92 with the Dream Team and the impact it had on the kids with baseball. Well, the Ryder Cup became big. It influenced a ton of youngsters in other countries to start playing golf. And then you had this influx of European talent entering the tour, and you saw a number of those guys rise up and provide competition at the majors. It makes sense now.
Yeah, it does.
1982.
That's amazing to me, though. Still.
I was 7 years old the last time that happened. 4 Americans to win all the majors. Lots happened since then, Godfather.
Yeah. Well, now we'll see how Schauffele does in the Olympics. He's the gold medal winner last time around. So
I do like his mental makeup.
A
lot of guys on tour that you watch, you can see them almost melt down right before your eyes. Who was it? Lowry?
Oh, yeah.
He melted down on cue.
He sure did.
But Schauffele just steady. And as well as I do, we learned this from Tiger over the years. Your mental game, staying focused, sticking to your plan, not letting a bad shot or a bad hole derail you completely. Like Schauffele's got that.
He took over on the back nine. I'll tell you that. It was his tournament. He just took command of the whole thing.
That 65 was straight nasty.
Mm-hmm.
All right, there you go. PGA Dave, big fans of his. And, let's do that right now. Raider Mike wants to do a Hairfest review. He was out there at Canby. Raider Mike, what was your takeaway on Hairfest, brother?
Well, let's do that last. I think Schauffele is the guy. He's the composure in that guy. He's just nails. He's steel nails. So he's the new Tiger, I think.
Well, that's
we need that.
High praise.
Well, I don't think he'll achieve what Tiger did, but he's the guy now. I think you asked that question.
Yeah.
Right? And I said,
yeah,
he is that guy.
Yeah, I think.
And now, go ahead, Joy. Go.
No, I was just going to say, I like the idea that he's a normal-sized human being, too. Some of these guys are big guys and strong guys and all that. It looks like some guy you'd be playing against at your local club or your local muni.
Exactly. He's tiny. He is. But he's just nails. He's just, I don't know. I like the guy.
Yeah.
And I predicted a couple years ago that he would be the next guy. So, anyway, Hairfest. What a fantastic time. These bands, other than the AC/DC guys, they made me leave. They were not good. They need me to sing for them. That's what they need. But all the other bands, I even partied with the Motley Crue guys.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Once they got into the crowd with me, it just went off the rails. It was so fun. Just great bands. All of them on point. I mean, almost you can't tell the difference. That's how good they were. So,
wow.
I don't know how many years they've been doing this. Just keep doing it. And Canby, that layout they had with the stage and where it was set up is just like, this is gorgeous. This is beautiful.
Yeah.
So anyway,
how about
great time?
What did you say about the AC? What about the AC/DC band that you were going to say?
It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and...
No. I kill Bon Scott. I kill Brian Johnson. And he literally, I don't know what it was bad to hear. That's all. The Zeppelin people were nails. Nails. They did Heart and Zeppelin. They combined the two, which was really cool.
Yeah.
They're the only band that day that did that were actually two cover bands in one. So it's, thanks for the tickets, guys.
You got it. You
had a great time out there, man.
You should have gone up on stage and just started singing.
I was getting pushed to do that by a lot of people because I was doing this, I was singing in the crowd. You're way better than that guy. So anyway, that's Cobra Kai. Oh, you got to do Daniel on me now?
No, that wasn't Daniel. Oh, that was Daniel. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That could drive you over the edge. That Daniel thing, man. Then I finished Cobra Kai. My last review. I wish it was a little bit longer. Man, they wrapped that up quick.
No, it's only part one. They're going to do a part two coming up. That
there's a part two.
Yeah, part two.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Then I'm happy because you can't finish it like that. I thought that was it.
No, they got more
So
coming.
very cool. What a fantastic weekend is what I'm trying to say. And Chad, when are we going to do our Wednesday or Saturday early tee time?
Oh, it's coming soon, my friend. It is coming soon.
All
I can't
right.
wait to get out there on the course with you in my Derek Carr gear, whatever jersey you have me put on.
Hey, Mike.
I'm probably going to give you Devontae.
I'm cool with that.
You
I like
deserve
Devontae.
Mike.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good to have you call in with some reviews. I like that. I like that you're a good reviewer. Expand a little bit. Give us some reviews of like movies, TV shows, sporting events, whatever
that's all
you want.
I do. That's all I do is critique good entertainment.
Yeah.
If you suck, I'm going to dumpster fire you. You know, and because the band behind the AC/DC guys, the band was tight.
Yeah.
It's just the singer can't do him.
Huh.
That's a hard voice to do. TNT, watch me explode!
There you go. That's my man right there, Raider Mike.
Oh, my God.
All right, high fives. We got a high five coming up to a man that's most deserving of it. We'll get to that next here on the Rip City Drive. Thanks, Raider Mike. All right, it is time for the Godfather and I to hand out some high fives, but our high fives are going to one gentleman today, and we're talking about the great Jim Leyland. Take a listen to this.
Say this to the fans. No matter which Hall of Famer you're here to support today, or which team you cheer for, your presence is always felt. On your feet in the ninth, with the home team clinging to a one-run lead, turning on your television for the first game of the World Series, and seeing 50,000 fans waving towels, hoping and praying that this may be their year. Or a little boy or girl getting their first autograph and scurrying back to the stands to show mom and dad their latest treasure. Ladies and gentlemen, that's you. That's baseball, and this is the Hall of Fame. Thank you very much.
There's your
That's pretty nice.
good friend and someone you admire a great deal, Jim Leyland, the great baseball manager.
Yeah, he was a terrific manager. I think he should still be in the game somewhere. I don't. He had a great line during that Hall of Fame speech, Chad. He said he was in bed the other night with his wife, and he rolled over and he said to her, he said, "Honey, in your wildest dreams, did you ever expect me to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame?" And she looked at him and she said, "You know, Jim, you've never been in my wildest dreams."
That is a good one.
Yeah, it is a good one.
I still love your story about you. How'd the story go? You're down there in Florida. Marlins, Indians, World Series, Game 7. They get the win, and Leyland gets a championship.
Yeah, my friend Tommy Sant, the late Tommy Sant, great guy, was the first base coach, and he was a big part of that team. Came with Leyland from Pittsburgh, and they won the World Series. And Tommy was such a good friend that he found me after the game, and he said, "You know, when you're done writing your story, come on down to the clubhouse and celebrate with us." So I said, okay. I wrote real fast after that, sent it into the Oregonian, and then headed off, packed my bag, headed off downstairs to their clubhouse. And they were back in the trainer's room, no other media, but I was back there with them celebrating and just kind of a fly on the wall. I knew Tommy. I'd met Jim a couple of times, but I just kind of stayed in the corner and watched those guys celebrate, what it was to be a lifetime in baseball and finally win a World Series.
How much pleasure was on Leyland's face in that moment?
Gosh. The whole time I saw him drink some champagne, I don't think I saw him light up a cigarette the whole time. No pressure, because he's usually 2 or 3 cigarette an inning guy, during the game. But, yeah, they were all just in heaven. If you can imagine, how hard these guys work. It's like the Stanley Cup in hockey. You work your whole career never knowing if you're ever going to get one. And they did. So it was great.
It's amazing. He had some great teams with the Pirates, but they couldn't get over the hump.
They couldn't beat the Braves most of the time. They lost some terrible, terrible losses to the Braves.
And one of his greatest sound bites is not PG, dang it. That one with him and Barry Bonds.
The best.
Oh, my.
When he
let Barry Bonds have it. If you don't want to be here, get out. I don't care. Basically that was the attitude.
And Barry respected him.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to do it for us. A big thanks to Brandon for hanging out with us today. Chris Burkhart for running Master Control. That's right. High five to you, Burkhart.
High five yourself.
A big thanks to David Coleman and also Sean Highkin for joining the show. Nice work today, Godfather.
It was a fun show, Chad.
Godfather! You guys have a good night. Thanks for your time. We're back tomorrow with the Rip City Drive at 3. Justin Myers has Rip City Mornings at 6, and now I'm headed to his house.
Lucky you.
Let's get out of here!